Kicks 105.5 WKXH. Good morning, I'm JJ. It is Wednesday, January 11th at 7:49 and 3 degrees outside. Heat wave going on out there. But right now we're gonna talk with Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Yeah, Burr, huh?
Burr, just a little bit.
Yeah, January finally figured out what January's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's called I have to go out earlier in the morning and start my car.
Start those cars up, yeah. My goodness. So, but you know what I love about it is it gives us something to complain about, which, I on most days I need something dependable to complain about, and now today it's definitively going to be the temperature, so that's a good thing.
I usually complain about something when I get up and look in the mirror.
I complain there, too.
Like, this is not going to be a good day.
Yeah, if this is what I'm starting with, it ain't going to get better.
So what are we talking about good policies this morning?
So for good policies, I actually mentioned I talked about this. Of course, we talk on Tuesdays on Magic. And I usually try to keep the topics completely separate because I want to have it be pretty fresh stuff, especially since we put it on our website and stuff. But this morning, yesterday's conversation was really about deductibles. And I think this morning it warrants continuing or having that conversation here as well. So deductibles is our conversation. Very exciting stuff. So hopefully you're sitting on the edge of your seat and ready for a good time conversation.
I'm on my feet.
There you go. So deductibles, what are they? Well, let's talk about them. Let's talk about them for home and auto. Deductible is something that you choose out of an array of deductibles that are available to have to go on your policy, and they're going to dictate how much of an exposure you have if a loss occurs. And I always say there's two types of you. I'm going to use you as an example. There's the JJ buying insurance, and there's the JJ who has a claim. So let's go to the JJ buying insurance. Well, a higher deductible looks really good because that's going to cost me less money. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Then there's the JJ to claim. I never would have wanted that high of a deductible. That's crazy. I wouldn't have done that. So you need to think about choosing your deductibles. You need to think about how that will impact you when or if a loss occurs. Okay, so on the home insurance, let's talk about a regular homeowner. Deductibles with most companies, the lowest they go are $500 or $1,000. So that kind of makes it a moot conversation there. But there are some with more options than that, such as going as low as a $250 deductible. Could go all the way up to a $5,000 or even a $10,000 deductible if you want to be so bold. Finding the sweet spot of savings is what I always tell people. And I always ask them, look, when you have a loss, what kind of damage would you have had to sustain before you call your insurance? And that really helps put people in the right mindset for making an appropriate deductible decision, because the worst thing you could do is look and go, well, gosh, $500 deductible is X. Well, look at this. I'll save this much money if I go to $1,000, or heck, I'll even save this much more if I go to $2,500. That's great, but when a loss occurs, are you prepared to cover those deductible expenses? Because that's what a deductible is. If I have a $5,000 loss in my home and I chose a $1,000 deductible, the insurance company is going to cut me a check for $4,000, and I'm on the hook for $1,000. So be prepared for that. Many people don't think about that at the time of getting insurance. With auto insurance, that's even a better example. Auto insurance, some companies for comprehensive, which covers fire, theft, vandalism, impact with animals, flood even. Comprehensive, some companies go as low as a $0 deductible up to $1,000 or $2,500 deductible. Comprehensive, most people tend to keep those deductibles a little on the lower side because they're not all that expensive. But again, if you think that the $1,000 deductible looks good, don't be in shock and awe when you have a claim, or if you have a claim, hit a deer or something, and you find out that the $10,000 repair for your car is only going to give you a $9,000 check. Don't forget, they're taking that deductible out. That's how this works. So you just really need to be mindful of your choices at the time of obtaining insurance. And I'm talking for home, auto, motorcycle, ATV, snowmobile, business insurance. They all have deductible choices. And so it's just about being mindful at the time. And take advantage of opportunities. The one I tell people all the time is if you've been with the same company for many years, do you know if that company offers a $0 glass deductible? I just mentioned moments ago how you maybe chose a $1,000 deductible for comprehensive. Comprehensive is also what's going to cover glass damage on your car. So do you want your glass deductible to be $1,000, or does your company offer a glass deductible waiver, or same thing, but a $0 deductible? If that's the case, get the deductible to be waived for glass claims, because what's the higher probability of loss, especially here in the Northeast Kingdom of the North Country, when you have everything on the road all winter long getting kicked up? You're probably going to have a glass claim. And glass claims don't really go against you unless there's a frequency there. So maybe it's a good idea to take advantage of that.
Right, and as you say in your ad, a lot of people like me, I don't really think about all that until something happens,
Right.
until a loss occurs.
Right.
Then you're like, oh my God, I got to call Mike Barrett.
And this better be covered. But, the deductible might shock you, but even in auto insurance, if you chose to not have rental reimbursement coverage, that could be a surprise too, because if you are so dependent on your vehicle that you can't be without, and your vehicle is not drivable, do you have rental reimbursement coverage on your auto insurance policy? What does it cost to rent a car a day? It's not necessarily a cheap proposition, probably $40, $50, $60, $70 a day, depending on the make model of car. But do you have rental reimbursement? Did you choose rental reimbursement when you got your insurance? You're going to know very quickly if you did or not if you have a claim. So just things to think about.
So even so, rental reimbursement, okay, let's just be honest, there's not a lot of car rental space places around here.
Not a hot commodity here, no.
So then you're probably going to have to pay some kind of fee to even get that car to you.
Yeah, or travel. You'll probably have to travel to out of town, obviously out of town, to get it. But there could be some expense there. So do you have protection for the rental reimbursement? Which, some companies build in anyway $20 a day, not to exceed $600, but that's not going to be enough. So you'll have some out-of-pocket expense, but you could always opt to go higher for the daily allotment, which is not a bad thing to consider, especially, we talk about inflation impacting the cost of homes and the materials and everything like that. Everything has gone up in price, so maybe it's time to think about a higher rental reimbursement too.
So along the lines of my question there.
Sure.
So you need a rental. There's not any place around here. So either you got to have it delivered or you got to go get it.
Right.
Either way, there's going to be some cost involved there.
Yeah.
Is that included in the rental deductible?
No. It's not a deductible. It's a reimbursement. And no, it's the cost per day. It's the cost per day for the contract on the vehicle. So, additional expense. And that's the thing. I mean, no matter how well prepared or how much coverage you have, a claim is still going to have some tedious and painful processes. And that, I suspect, would be one of them. So,
yeah, the tedious and painful process is me reaching into my wallet.
Indeed. Or having to adjust your schedule. We are creatures of habit. We have a routine. If you are used to getting up and going with that vehicle's not there and you got to get something else, it's going to mess you all up. So it's not an easy process. So
It is not.
Something to think about there for sure. But deductibles, pretty important. And, when choosing a sweet spot deductible, if you're only going to see $30 or $40 savings from going from one deductible to another, is it really worth going higher? The example I give is on a homeowner most commonly. If I quote a $1,000 deductible, then I'll quote a $2,500 deductible and say, hey, look, you could save about $35 a year if you go to the $2,500. Is it worth saving $35 a year to have a $1,500 extra exposure for a loss? Not necessarily, but that is a personal decision. So it's up to you to decide.
Exactly. And if you don't own anything that's worth anything, then you may want to go with a lower deductible.
You might want to, yeah. Well, the older vehicles get, if you're a good driver, if you're not really young, not I don't want to say really old, but there are ways for you to optimize having a lower deductible too. So,
all right. So if someone wants to reach out and speak with you about insurance and what services you offer, how can they reach you?
Simple to do. Give us a call, 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, and you have yourself a great, nice, frosty day.
Yes. Jack Frost will be nipping at my nose or toes. I can't remember.
Probably both today.
Probably both today.
All right. All right. We'll talk with you again next week. That was Mike Barrett from the Barrett Insurance Agency right here on Kicks 105.5.